let's look at problems 1 through 6. Name these bad boys. Number 1, 4 and 2. 4 and 2 are right across. Here's 2, here's 4. What are those? Those are called vertical angles, and they will always be the same. It's like scissors. What about 4 and 7? Now notice, here's the one line, here's the other line. Those are on the interior, on the inside of that line. So those are interior angles, and they're on the same side of that transversal. So sometimes they're called that in some books, but we in the state of Virginia like to call them consecutive interior angles because they come one right after the other. As you slide down the transversal from 4, the next guy that comes in your view is 7. So they're consecutive interior angles. Now notice one is obtuse and one is acute. So they're not going to equal one another unless they're both 90s, but they're always going to add together to be 180 degrees. Okay, that's always true. Now, let me get a little erasing going here. Let's figure out the rest of these bad boys. 5 and 8. Where's 5? Well, 5 and 8, again, those are vertical angles. I must have been hung up on vertical angles when I made this. 3 and 5. 3 and 5, okay, again, they're on the interior. They're on the same side of the transversal. They're going to add up to 180. Those are, again, are consecutive interiors, consecutive interior angles. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and, again, clean up a little bit here. Next is 5 and 4. Oh, you and I, when we have these are interiors, we love the old Z-Meister. Here's a Z-Meister like this. 3 and 7 will be equal. But also you have Z-Meisters going like that, sort of weird Z's. Okay, now they're not, that's just what Cecil calls them. I call them Z-Meisters. That's not their technical name. Their technical name, because they're on alternate sides, alternate, that's an A, that's an N-A-T-E, A-T-E, alternate interior angles, alternate interior angles. And finally, let me clean us one more time. Finally, we ask about 8 and 4. This is where, if you remember, if you have two lines that are parallel, you can take all the angles here and slide them up the transversal to the other parallel line and they'll match. Well, 8, if those lines were parallel, 8 and 4 would match. Those are what we call, in this case, they're exactly the same. So we sometimes do make the mistake of thinking of the word consecutive, okay? But these corresponding angles. And you got to be careful because, again, you have these words that both begin with C's. And so I get students that sometimes will flip them up, but they are corresponding because the one corresponds to the other. It matches it up. It's the same. They're going to always match. The only ones that aren't going to match, usually with most of what we're doing here, are when we have consecutive interiors. Consecutive interiors like 4 and 7 or 3 and 5 interiors on the same side of the transversal, they're going to add up to 180.